Hello, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs. Actually, no, I'm not. Oh my God. G'day friends and welcome to another one of my videos. Now today we're doing a bit of myth busting. We're going to see if the Canon EOS M50's digital image stabilization actually sucks. There's different reports from YouTubers about the quality captured when the digital image stabilization is turned on the M50. So today we've slapped on the Sigma 16mm and we're going to see if we can replicate these problems. So if you want to find out whether the digital IS on the Canon M50 sucks, well, then stick around.
Love should be easy. Why should it not? When all you want is to be loved, is to be loved. But love ain't easy. You taught me that. I let you in, now you want out, now you want out. I don't understand.
And welcome back. Now, the couple of things that people always discuss when they're referring to the digital IS on the Canon M50 is one, the cropping. Obviously, this is an APS-C sensor, so it's already has cropping innately. But then on top of that, you add the 4K cropping, and that is even worse. But then if you use the IS on top of that, you know, obviously it's nightmarish, but today our experiment is gonna focus on 1080p. We're only gonna do full HD. We're not gonna go 4K today in order to give the little camera a chance, right? Come on, it's only a tiny M50, it's my baby. I'm not gonna discredit it that much today. The other criticism is that when you're using the digital IS, there's a bit of warping and there's like a funky sort of capture when it comes to the IS. So we want to also test that. So first of all, what we're going to do is have a look at the cropping part of it. And then we're going to go outside and do a bit of a road test to see if we can pick up any, you know, funky sort of, you know, wobbling or anything along those lines as far as image capture is concerned. So let's do some testing. Okay, so our first test is not going to be so technologically advanced, but what I'm going to try to do is find the corners with these sticky notes of the image, and these are going to be our markers. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch over to digital image stabilization and let's see what happens. Okay, there we have it. So there are two image stabilization modes in the Canon M50. One's a standard IS and one is enhanced. So this is the standard. As you can see, there is some cropping, but not too much. I can say it's probably about 3 centimeters. Okay, so now this one is the enhanced mode. So as you can see, there is a big degree of cropping. So from our standard or our testing today, let's focus on using the standard IS instead of the enhanced one, or else it's just going to be you know, too close, especially for vlogging. It's just not going to work for us. So I think this is part one of that myth. So there is definitely some cropping when it comes to these two standards. Okay, here we are. We've got the Sigma 16mm on the camera and we're going to do first test. So I just stood up and if you can notice, the image stabilization is not turned on. So I'm just doing a normal walking test so you can see exactly what's happening. I got my arm extended as far as I can. It's gonna get tired. So hopefully as we use the IS, it's gonna help us with the stabilization. So now let's go back to the starting point and do the same thing but with the image stabilization turned on. Okay, so here we are, second test of Groundhog Day. Now we're going to do the stand-up test and we're going to walk away, and now I've got the image stabilization on. Now I know that I'm shaking because I can see my reflection on the ND filter, and I know that things are moving around, and hopefully the camera is doing exactly what it should be doing. Now, as a test, I'm going to do the advanced IS just to give you an indication of what that really looks like, especially with the cropping. So let's have a try of that right now. Okay, now here we have the third take, which is using the enhanced image stabilization on 16mm. As you can see, it's kind of too close and maybe you're just seeing way too much detail. This is definitely Gordon Lang material, like getting way too close to my head. But as you can see, it's doing a reasonably good job. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to the standard image stabilization, and I'm going to give you some patterns in the background so you can see exactly what it's doing and stop scaring you with these close-ups. Okay, we're back now at standard IS, and I've got a little bit of a background with a bit of a pattern behind me, as you can see. Now what I'm going to try to do is obviously move it around, and you just see if you can see any type of, I don't know, I guess funkiness in the image. I will have a look at this back in the studio with on a bigger screen so I can see if I can pick up any abnormalities, but as you can see, I'm spinning around. Hopefully I won't get sick. And I can, obviously it's a good test to see if there's anything funny happening in the background. So it's pretty good. The autofocus seems to be also keeping up with everything I'm throwing at it. So far so good. Okay, so this is the last test, I promise. So I've got the Canon EOS M50, and right now it is at 11mm, so the widest I can bring it. And I've got the standard image stabilization on. The good thing about this lens is that it does also have image stabilization in the lens, so hopefully the IS in the camera and the IS in the lens will actually give us a smoother image. The only thing that we lose, obviously the lowest I can get this is an f4, so we've lost some of that milky goodness in the background. Well, what are you gonna do? Anyway, let's have a look at the stabilization, do a stand-up test, and how does that look? Now hopefully this thing is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So that is this particular lens with its inbuilt stabilization. Now obviously it is not a 16, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in 16mm mode in the zoom, and that's exactly how it looks on this particular lens. But as you can see, we've got the background behind us. I can't see anything funky happening there, and I know what it should be happening because I had a particular Lumix lens that used to warp on the corners. It used to look really bad, and so I really can't see any signs of that. It used to look like you were tripping out on some kind of, you know, hallucinogens or something, but no, this looks pretty good. So that's the 16mm, this is the 11mm, and as you can see, it's pretty smooth. So I think I have probably made a decision about what is happening. So let's have a little quick chat. And boy was I wrong. So when I took the footage back to the studio and had a look at it on a big screen, I realized there was something very peculiar happening. So the best scenario was when I had the Sigma lens on the camera and the image stabilization was turned on. Now I've got the best results. The stabilization was actually occurring and I was really happy with the results. The worst case scenario was when I had the Canon EOS M 11-22mm lens, which has its own stabilization, with the digital stabilization in the camera. Now there was some real funky warping happening to the images. Now at first I couldn't notice that on the LCD because it was way too small to sort of gather that detail, but on the big screen it really was noticeable. And if you're watching this video on a large screen, you will see that real strange effect that it has. So the best combination was when I was using the Sigma lens, which does not have stabilization, and the digital image stabilization on the Canon, which was pretty strange. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say that this myth, depending on the lens that you're using, could potentially be true. And there you have it, friends. I'm gonna say that this myth is plausible, because of the different combinations, I guess, with lenses, maybe the lack of firmware updates, I can see, and in occasions, some weird, let's say, image problems. So I am not gonna bust this myth because I definitely could not be 100% that this is not happening. So what a great experiment. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Your support is always welcome. And until the next time, ciao for now.